Right, we're coming to have a look at Splash Point with a view to coming and fishing down here tonight. So we're going to have a go down here, I think. Try and come down before dark. And have a go lure fishing off there, see if we can't pick up a bass. And then I'm hoping that after dark we might get a look in with a squid. I think there is some bass activity down on the surface here actually. Yeah, there's definitely something on the surface down there. I might go home and get set up and come back down here. Good evening and welcome to Sea Fishing with CJ. We're down at Splash Point, at the eastern end of Seaford Beach. It's kind of the last place you can get to having to sort of do some serious climbing. And that's Seaford Head you can see off there behind me, or in that direction there. And there's the bigger groin there. There's a few people fishing on the end of that. So I thought I'd come down in here and have a little go, see if we can't winkle out a little bass before it gets dark. And then squid is the plan. There's a fair amount of colour in the water, but it's not completely opaque. I'm going to be using one of my little homemade lures again. See if we can't have the same sort of fun that we had the other night. Yeah, just a bit of fun. Got 2 days window in the weather, and then the weather's turning bad. So we've got to try and make the most of it. So that's what we're here to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, the bottom of the tide is after dark, because I really would like to go snorkeling. Having said that, the visibility is not great, but yeah, that's what I would have liked to have done. The visibility is pretty poor for that. I came down here earlier on, and there was definitely some fish action on the surface down in here. When there was a bit more water here. And I'm kind of full circle, because I remember fishing here just where that kid is many years ago, using live launch, which I was catching off here, and John Darling came along, took some pictures of me, and I'm in his book fishing off this point. So yeah. Now the old sewer pipe you can just about see is breaking the surface now. There's big tides at the moment, so that doesn't often uncover like that. So I've got to watch that, because that's quite a snag. But obviously it's a fish holding mark, so if I can get down and fish close to it without snagging into it, happy days. So that's what we're going to be trying to do. So let's get on and do it. Using my Ultimum Maximus Ultimatum, which is a lovely rod. Really pleased I found that. Right, put the camera on. The first cast, and it's good to get on film, fish on first cast. is it that as soon as I put a line in the water, the phone rings. Okay, mate. There we go. First fish of the night. That's what the little fish that were following me. Little schoolie. Tiny little schoolie, but a fish nonetheless. So we've not had a blank, which is the right result. Unfortunately, it wasn't on one of my homemade lures. I think my homemade lure is a little bit too big for these little schoolies. So I switched over to a fish size 1. It's just a tiny little fish lure. Look at that lens. It's a very small black minnow. And yeah, into the first little schoolie of the night. So let's put him back in. And away he goes. So, right result. Right result. Let's see if we find a couple of peak now. So after dark we moved our position down onto the beach with the intention of fishing the tide up. We're on the beach. High tide's about 1 o'clock. We're going to fish from virtually the bottom of the tide now. I think it's just about on the turn to the top. I'm not sure what I'm going to get. I think there's been quite a lot of whiting getting caught. But hey, some bass, should be some bass. I'm going to be trying to target bass. And then I'm not going to tell you what my target species for the night is going to be, because I guarantee that if I tell you what it is, we won't catch any. But if we catch them, I'll make a big song and dance about it. But that's later. It's the last night of good weather for a while. Just the tail off of the big tides. So, you know, I hate to say it's a window in the weather, because actually we had a couple of days of nice weather. But it is the last of the good days. I think the forecast for tomorrow is that low pressure is going to start moving in, the wind's going to start picking up, and it's going to rain. As if it hasn't rained enough in October already. We're on the beach at Seaford, and the sea is like a mirror. It's absolutely calm. Right, let's get it set up and let's get fishing. Right, well, we've got the first rig done up. It's a 2-hook, I don't know, cascade or flapper rig. They're not flapper because they're actually pinned down. But to about, I don't know, 4-ounce grip lead. A little bit of luminescence on the bit of rubber that holds the pennel hook in place. We'll give that a little flash of UV. See if we can't brighten it up a bit. And we'll whack that up. First cast of the night. What could go wrong? And crack off. Give it a little bit of blast. A little bit of blast. And let's get it down and blast it out. I've got it on my, this is on my BlackRock SS10 light bar competition rod. It's got a pen battle on it. I'm using braid shock leader, 55-pound braid shock leader, the 60-pound main line inside the trace, and then 20-pound fluorocarbon hook snoods with 2 size 1 hooks in a pennel. For those who like to know what's being carved, what's being used. And here we are at the water's edge, just like fishing at a lake. Not a sea at all. Got a cannon, we're trying to cannon out for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but I've fitted cannons to all my rods now. Fed up with having stinky. Get that right, get it in the right place. Right, so it's on the cannon. a little cheeky off the ground cast. Nice easy ground to do off the ground cast with. Not like the rocks we were casting off in Cornwall. Elbow up, looking up, and throw into it, fast out. Probably gone a little bit to the right actually. Hopefully not too far right. Spin the line. No, that looks pretty straight. That looks pretty straight. It's a line, my rod lines are a bit all over the place. We'll sort that out. And we've got a little light stick on here because I can't get the batteries from my tip lights at the moment. Not used tip lights much in the past, but I kind of like it. Oh, fish on already. What makes me think that's whiting? Look at that. Rattling away. I think this might be a portend of the night. Getting plagued by channel whiting. Or little pin whiting. Not doing it now. There it is, it's still there. Still there. Two hooks on there though, isn't there? Let's hope that the little whiting is drawing the bass in to feed on them, and we can draw a bass onto a nice big fat squid bait. Leave it out there. Well, as I say, there's two hooks on there, isn't there? So let's leave it out there, and then get the other rod out, and then get this one back in. Once the whiting start to get of a size, we will we'll do some catch and cooks on the beach. I suspect that they're all small at the moment. It's banging away. Right, well, second rod, it's going to have a whole squid on it, and I'm just going to lob that out, I don't know, 30 yards or so, and see if we can't pick ourselves up a bass. There's got to be some decent sized bass coming in here. Obviously feeding on the white bait, feeding on the whiting, and hopefully there's squid here, so squid will be a natural bait as well. So as I say, we're going to just plop this one out. This is on my Taylor Q7. I'm not going to bang it out a long way, because most people when they're fishing for bass cast over the top of the bass. On the cannon, yeah, liking these cannons. So a little fed up with having stinky fingers stuck in smelly finger fobs, so it's just a little lazy lob. I think it's been loosened off. Something weighty on there. It's a huge sole. I'd be a very happy man if it was. We've got two tiny little whiting. How did I know? How could I have guessed that? Look at that. Pin whiting. I think these are going to be a nuisance tonight. I suspect these are going to be a nuisance tonight, and because I've got pennel hooks in, it's gorged. Oh no, so he can go back. Now these are nice live bait size, so what I might be tempted to do is to rig up a live bait rig. Let's have a look and see if we've got a live bait rig set up, and we might just whack a live bait rig out. Because as I say, I think worms are just going to be devoured by whiting as soon as they hit the water. What we'll do is we'll whack this rig that I've baited up out, as it's baited already, and then we'll sit down and we'll set up a live bait rig. Pretty sure I've got some made up somewhere. And we'll whack one of them out. We can't get a white to gorge the hook, and then stay next to a bigger hook, be a food for something bigger, bass or a conger or something like that. But it's not a blank. What did we call these last year? Winter mackerel. I'd rather see mackerel any day. When I get a bit bigger, what I will do is I'll do a catch and cook on the beach, fill it a couple up on the beach and fry them up, have them in a wrap with some salad. It'll be quite nice. Right, slightly smaller baits this time, not because I want to attract smaller fish, but because I don't want to go through my worms at the rate it looks like I'm going to be. Let's get this one out and then see if we can't set up this live bait rig. It's not cold tonight, bloody hot actually. I've got too many layers in it, put my coat off. See how far I can get this out. Let's have it that way. Have it that way. That way makes sense. Right, both rods are rattling now. So the one that's got a whole squid on is rattling with what looks like a whiting bite, and the worm baits are rattling too. Yeah, going to be played by these little feckers all night, I think. Yeah, so live bait rig is definitely the way forward. Turn a nuisance into an asset. So let's rig that up now, and then we'll decide which one we're bringing in. We'll get that out in a minute. Well, managed to pick up 3 on that cast with 2 snoods, but this one dropped off as it was coming out of the water, so it can go straight back. Straight back. Now the good thing is they are staying on hooks, so when I put out this live bait rig, there's every chance that the live bait will stay on. So let's go and do that. Right, so we're gonna try and turn a nuisance into an asset. So what I've got here is I've got a size 1 circle hook on there with a bit of worm, and then that's attached hanging off the back or the bend of a 5/0 hook. The idea being is Mr. Whiting comes along, gorges himself on this circle hook, and then he stays out there thrashing around a little bit, and then something a little bit more desirous, either nice big bass would be nice, or a conger eel or any other sort of predatory fish comes along and eats Mr. Whiting and gets himself on this hook. A bit like a carp hair rig really, but that's what we're going to do. So as soon as we start getting knocks and rattles on that, it means that the trap is baited. Right, so the squid bait was rattling away like a good one as well. So I suspect Whiting but also suspect it might not still be there because it's quite a big hook, or bigger hook. We have seaweed and we have one shredded squid. So that has been well and truly noshed, hasn't it? Well and truly noshed. Gone. So we'll bait that up, put it out again. The other rod, which we see has got a live bait on it, so when it starts rattling, we're happy. The problem with live bait rods is when it stops rattling, do you wind it in or do you leave it out there? And you can, sod's law says that if you don't wind it in, when you eventually do, there won't be anything there. If you do wind it in, guess what? You'll have a nice lively bite on the end of it. You should have been left out there. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It would look like the trap is set. Getting some knocks and rattles on the live bait rig. Well, I was. Come on, rattle again just to prove that you're still there. Right, it was definitely rattling and knocking just now, for sure. Yeah, there's still some little knocks and rattles going on. Yeah, it's definitely there still. Definitely there still. So let's leave that and watch it go boom, big bend over. That's what we want to see. Got a whole squid on the right hand rod and that's rattling like a good one, so I'm guessing that's getting robbed. The left hand rod, which has got a live bait rig on it, I think the power of the whiting's still there. Just every so often I can see a little movement there, so I think we're gonna have faith in that. We're just gonna wait it out. Yeah, there's still a little movement. Every so often there's a little tug on that rod, left hand rod. Not a rattle, but just like there's a tired fish there. And that's what we want. We want a fish that doesn't look very healthy, because that will draw in the bait, the predators. So, yep, fingers crossed. We're gonna have to move in a minute. The tide's coming in quite fast now. Right, well, we've been plagued by whiting all night, taking every sort of bait that we put out there. So as you know, we put a live bait rig out there, which basically is a big hook with a smaller hook attached to it, with a bit of worm on it. And definitely we've had a whiting on it because it's been rattling and knocking, but it's been a bit quiet for a while. So let's just wind it in, see if we've still got any bait on there. If not, put a fresh worm on and whack it out. Well, put a fresh worm and whack it out anyway, because it can't cast out a live whiting. It won't be a live whiting when it hits the water, unfortunately. Yeah. Had a few little casts with a squid rig. Nothing yet, but I'm led to believe top of the tide was where they were catching last night. So we've got another hour or so. Or have I given away what the target species is? What have we got here? Oh yeah, we've got a bait on this still. Big fat pouting. Might not have been the desired live bait, really, a bit big. But so that's been our live bait all this time. You can see it's sitting there on that hook with this big hook just ahead of its mouth, so that when the bigger fish comes along and eats this one, swims off, it picks up this hook, and we have a fight on, or not in this case. Right, so get another worm on there. Got plenty of worms because we stopped using them as bait quite a while ago. Very largely worms. They were apparently, according to the shop, they'd just been brought in when I got them. So, look at that, firm as anything. I've got to bang them, right? They're just solid. And the juiciest bit where the hook is. Now these circle hooks, quite hard to put a worm on because the beak almost bends back on itself. Hence it's named circle hook, because it's almost a circle. So you have to kind of feed them back on themselves. The beauty of a circle hook is they're designed for the fish to virtually hook themselves on them, and of course once they're on, it's unlikely that they're going to come off. Yeah. Thread it onto the bigger hook as well a little bit. Just hook it through it. Holding it nice and straight. I think that'll work. Just the other thing about it is, if you had a live fish on there for a while, they will have swum round and round in circles and they will have got you into a bit of a tangle. Not too bad. Easy to unclip it, sort it out and clip it back on again. I need a cup of tea. I'll get this out and I'm guaranteed to get a hoofing great bite if I have a cup of tea in my hand. Okay, so this is the little squid jig that I'm using. It's a Savage Gear squid jig as recommended by Mr. Schoolie Bass. Very realistic looking prawn, to be quite honest. And it's got a certain amount of luminescence in its eyes and in the tentacles, which will boost up with a bit of UV. Find the UV light. So, shine some UV on it. Now you might think, well, why would anything won't go for something that glows? Well, there's a lot of things that emit luminescence in the sea, but also if you ever shine a light into water where there's prawns, their eyes are incredibly reflective. So, so let's get that a bit warmed up. I might be able to see them glowing a little bit. We'll put my hand over the light, and we're going to have 10 casts, and then we'll save the final effort up for when the tide is at the top, which is about an hour's time. So I'll turn the camera off now, it'll come back on if I catch anything. Well, we've got a lot of knocking and bouncing going on with this left hand rod, which is good because that's my live bait rig. Hopefully we've got a nice little pin whiting has attached himself on the end of that, and he's going to be tempting something bigger along. Still there because it's nodding and banging a little bit. It's obviously not the initial rattling bite now, but there's something hooked on there. Hopefully it's not another big fat pouting. The whole squid was banging and bashing as well, but it stopped. But nothing, not a bass bite, just whiting again. Well, I've just brought my live bait rig in, and look at that. That has been well and truly noshed, isn't it? Well and truly noshed. Look, and it's because it's master hook. But yeah, look at that. That looks something quite big with teeth. It's done that. Right, let's get it back out again. I have to say, what a fantastic night. I mean, it's almost warm. I mean, obviously I've got thick layers of clothing on, but I've got too much on, I'm hot. Getting plagued by little whiting, absolutely plagued with them. I've not been filming me landing them all because it gets boring after a while. But and I'm saving the camera up for something special. We're going to have another little go with the squid jig in a second. See if we can't pick a squid up. We'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at what I'm using. But yeah, if we start getting squid, I'll film again. Last winding of the night and last fish of the night on very notched up whiting. So something has had a go at that whiting. Yeah, something's had a go at that whiting. What's done that? Crabs maybe. Yeah, something's eaten away his gills. Look at that, trimmed all his fins off. I reckon crabs have had it. End of a good night. Good night, everybody.